So as we already know, the Dragon Ball franchise has been out for the longest time ever, and it has given us so many games the past couple decades. And over time we have seen and could even state that some of these games could possibly be one of the best Dragon Ball games of all time. We have gotten games such as Fighters, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, Budokai 3, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Xenoverse 2, and a bunch more, and the list can go on. But did you know that there was actually some PlayStation exclusive Dragon Ball games, which is actually pretty crazy because I thought they would be multi-platform. Not too long ago I did make a video talking about Nintendo exclusive Dragon Ball games, and there were a ton of Dragon Ball games specifically only to Nintendo. So without further ado, let's see what games were actually PlayStation exclusive. Let's go.
PlayStation.
So the first ever game that was exclusive to PlayStation was Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22, which did release in 1995 in Japan and 1996 in Europe, and was later released in the US in 2003. This game was developed by TOS Software, or Tosei, once again forgive me if I'm saying these things incorrectly, and was part of the Butuden series. This was a 2D/3D fighting video game and was only exclusive to the PS1. And the crazy part about this game was that the resolution, or just native resolution of the game, was 240p. My man, not even 480p? That's crazy. I guess one funny and clever thing about the game is that it is called Ultimate Battle 22 because it features 22 characters at the beginning of the game, but then 5 more characters can be unlocked, and once you unlock those characters, the title screen would say Ultimate Battle 27, which in my personal opinion is a pretty nice touch to the game. Now when it comes to the core gameplay of the game, these characters you play as have 2 different meters to display different statuses, such as a basic health meter and a strength meter. Now you do have your basic punch and kick combos, but you also have special attacks which are based on actual moves, either used in the anime or in the manga. For example, you can use Goku's Kamehameha, but then you would have to use a large amount of your strength meter to use it. You also have other basic special attacks which are just a variety of ki blasts and explosion based attacks. And I guess another thing that's pretty cool about this game is that just like the previous installments of the Butuden series, you can either play in the air or grounded. So if you actually press the triangle button on your PlayStation controller, your character will rise up and levitate, and so will the CPU as well. I guess another cool thing about this game is that if you're in the air and you do get hit with a heavy damage attack, you will fall down to the floor and pretty much receive additional damage, similar to how they wanted to portray it like in the actual anime. The only thing that really sucks about this game was that it was received very badly and with a lot of negative reviews. But it was even worse when it did release in the US, as then many companies and people would give it such low ratings, thus people would not want to play the game. Up next we have Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, which did release in 1997 in North America, Europe, and in Japan. The game was also reissued in the UK, which then released in 2002, and in North America in 2004. This game was also developed by Tosei, or TOS Software, once again you guys can correct me, and was also part of the Butuden series. Final Bout was actually the last game to be rendered in full 3D and the last Dragon Ball game produced for the original PlayStation console. So that meant that there would not be another Dragon Ball game until Dragon Ball Z Budokai in 2002, which of course was multi-platform. I guess another sad thing about this was that this was the first Dragon Ball game to be officially released in North America, which would not occur again until The Legacy of Goku 5 years later in 2002. So this game features several unlockable characters, as the majority of them are just Super Saiyan transformations or just alternate versions of pre-existing characters such as GT Goku for example. And yeah, the graphics, oh boy. Yeah, they do seem pretty blocky and out of date by today's standards, but actually the music is still held in high regard. And I think the reason why many people still love the soundtrack of this game is because most of it is just rearranged versions of themes used in the older Dragon Ball games from the Super Famicom. And although this was a 3D fighting game, many people did complain for its controls, as it felt very sluggish, stiff, it had the awkward camera movements and collision detection issues. But putting that aside and looking at the base core combat system, I do think it's pretty cool, because when opponents fire energy blasts, players can deflect them, put up shields, or even engage in beam struggles, which is really cool for its time. And the funny part is, if you do pick the same character over and over again, you actually progressively strengthen specific moves of that character, which will then allow you to overpower or just one-shot other characters. And another thing that really just sucked about this game was that the original North American edition was released in 1997, just 1 year after the premiere of Dragon Ball GT in Japan. So only 10,000 copies were produced due to the series being very unfamiliar with many people at the time. But fear not, if you did not get the game previously, it was re-released in 2004 and it became one of the best-selling games for PlayStation. And I guess the developers wanted to do something funny or very silly, as Super Saiyan 4 Goku's only playable through a cheat command in the press start screen or without being damaged when the player wins against Golden Grade 8 Baby. Up next in the list we have Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai, and bro, I used to play this game so much on my PSP, but unfortunately I did give it away. But yeah, this game was actually developed by Dimps and was released in 2006. And this game was only made for the PSP, which is also known as the PlayStation Portable. This game was still part of the Budokai series and was released following Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, and it later had its own sequel, Shin Budokai Another Road. And we will get to that other game shortly, but this game actually had other different modes such as story mode, arcade mode, trial mode, and we have profile card mode, which, I mean, okay. So basically the story mode is a new story which takes place 2 years after the defeat of Kid Buu and is based on the events of the Dragon Ball Fusion Reborn movie. So the cool thing about this story is that you, the player, would follow the events of the story in which you choose between Goku and friends, including enemy characters along the way, and that the choices that you ultimately decide on pretty much determines the outcome of the whole entire story. The next mode in the game is arcade mode, which is a single player mode that lets a player choose who they want to play as, fight against the CPU, and pretty much just get the Dragon Balls. Once you get the Dragon Balls, Shenron then appears and grants the wish of the character. Up next we have Z Trial mode, which consists of two different types of playstyles. We have survival, where the player fights against the CPU and see how long that person can last, and also a time attack, where the player sees how fast that person can make it through a predetermined set of opponents. And lastly we have profile card mode, in which players can literally just design their own card and customize it with items from the game store. There are actually 18 playable characters, including Prize Fighter Pycon, and you can actually do multiplayer with this game as well. In terms of its gameplay, it's essentially just the exact same thing as prior installments of the Budokai series. The only difference is that there's actually a brand new technique known as the Aura Burst, which allows your character to move across the screen at high speed towards your opponent. Now moving on, we have the sequel of Shin Budokai, which is Shin Budokai Another Road, or just Shin Budokai 2. This game was once again developed by Dimps and was released in 2007 and was for the PSP. Now this game is pretty much identical to Shin Budokai. It's essentially the exact same game. The only difference is the plot of the game. Now in this story we have Majin Buu being released in future Trunks' alternate timeline. Basically all they did with this game was pretty much improve on different things from Shin Budokai. For example, here we have 24 playable characters, a brand new power level system and story mode. You're able to change camera angles and overall fixed it, and they did improve the fighting system with over 50 new fighting skills and ultimate attacks. So yeah, in my own opinion, I do think that both of these games are just underrated gems, and if you guys have not played these games yet, I would highly recommend you guys play it, especially if you have a PSP. And last but not least, the final Dragon Ball game on this list is Dragon Ball Z Battle of Z. Now you guys are probably thinking, wait, that game released on PS3 and Xbox 360, and while yes it did, it's actually the only game on the PlayStation Vita. And the worst part is, this game played a lot worse here on the Vita compared to the PS3 and Xbox 360 version. Like really, dude? But yeah, basically the game was developed by ArtDink, was published by Bandai Namco, and released in 2014. So yeah, if you got Battle of Z on your PS Vita, this was basically the worst way compared to the PS3 and Xbox 360 to play this game, as the online connection was absolutely terrible. And the worst part is, this is considered to be one of the worst and most hated Dragon Ball game of all time. Now this is not your regular 1v1 type of Dragon Ball game, as here it's a 4v4 type of co-op game, and you actually get into 8-player brawls. And in this game you do get different character types, which are divided into 4 different classes, such as melee types, ki blast types, support types, and interference types. Another huge thing about this game was customization, as you the player can level up your fighters, heavily customize their attributes using an in-game card system, equipping various items and stat boosts before entering a mission, which then led many people to believe this was like a beta or prototype of what Xenoverse was. In this game we also have different game modes such as normal battle, score battle, battle royale, and Dragon Ball grab. When it comes to normal battle, it's just the standard 4v4 team fighting where both sides are given a specific amount of retries, and the first team to run out of those retries is the one that loses. Next up we have score battle, which is pretty much a race to achieve the highest score by knocking out as many opponents as possible within a specific time limit. Up next is a battle royale, which is an 8-player free-for-all mode where many people just fight until there's only one person remaining and that's the winner. And last but not least, we have Dragon Ball Grab, which is a team-based objective mode where 2 squads of 4 people battle to collect all 7 Dragon Balls. So yeah, that's pretty much Battle of Z. Many people do hate this game, which really sucks because in my eyes, I do think it's a pretty decent game, but once again, I completely understand if you don't like it. Just remember, if you do want to get the game, get it for PS3 or Xbox 360, as the PS Vita version was the worst out of the 3. So yeah, these were all Dragon Ball games that were released and were exclusive to PlayStation consoles. I'm still pretty much in shock because I just did not believe that some Dragon Ball games would be exclusive to PlayStation, as most Dragon Ball games are multi-plat, at least in terms of what we have recently. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Once again, please let me know in the comments down below if I missed any Dragon Ball games that were exclusive to PlayStation. And feel free to let me know in the comments down below if you guys have played these games before. If not, just let me know if there's a specific game you guys would have liked to play. But yeah, once again, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. For now, stay safe, take care, and peace.